Right at it. Right at it. Oh, he's done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening. Welcome to episode 28 of the Go Get That podcast. We'd first like to apologize for the little delay. We've kind of had some just schedule conflicts recently, but we're back now. So here we are.
Episode 28. We are shouldn't be too long of an episode. Just going to talk about Jordan's schedule, and we're recording this on a Saturday afternoon where the Arnold Palmer Invitational is currently going on.
So sad, dude.
All three of us expected
He could
him to
totally
play
be
that
winning
tournament.
right now. He totally could be winning right now.
I look over at my TV and I see Victor Hovland and Taylor Gooch tied at 8 under par, and when the scores are that high, it pains me to not see Jordan Spieth in the field, because these are the types of tournaments where he can grind and
Perfect.
You shoot 3 under for the week and it's still a nice week, and we're missing out on it, which stinks.
Yeah, especially with the wind blowing today. On Saturday, greens are baked. Putting, like, speed is uber critical today, especially, but the entire week. And Jordan loves playing in the wind, and probably the best part of his game, maybe not so much recently, but speed control is typically on the greens, is typically like his forte. So it would have been a good week, and it's, I think, a little more disappointing considering that it was one of the expected tournaments to be played. Like when we did our schedule prediction in December, we all thought he was going to be here. I mean, he had a good week here last year. But alas, he's elected for the 2 weeks off before the Players, and then the Valspar off as well. So one tournament in the Florida swing before 3 in Texas, and then Augusta is coming up really soon. So plenty to get prepped for, I guess.
Yeah,
next month.
I think it's virtually a guarantee now that we know what his schedule will be. It'll be the Players, Match Play, Valero, Masters. So got some tournaments coming up. It's still a shame not to see him this week. There's just not a whole lot of weeks like this week where the scores are going to be this high. And again, I think I'm even more shocked. I know the three of us were shocked after how last year went. I know in a prior podcast, Bob, I asked you the question, if he played poorly at API, maybe he'd consider not coming back. But he T4'd last year, so played really well, and still has chosen to miss it this year.
I mean, I tweeted this out when it happened. I had a source who said straight from Jordan that he was going to make this an annual stop. Do I still think that this is? I still think this could be a thing. Like, maybe it's just the baby. Maybe he wanted to go home. It's a newborn. Got to put some respect on that. I mean, like, I'm sure we'd all rather be with the kid than playing a golf tournament at that stage in his parenthood. But definitely disappointing not to see him play. But it is what it is. I mean, you just got to bounce back. It sucks because I think this is a course that he has a really good chance to win at. And we're seeing him probably add a tournament like Detroit, where who knows what's going to happen there.
It's funny you mention it, because I've been telling my followers that that's what I've kind of expected, especially even more so that we're not playing API. I heard that I think Detroit's happening. I think it might not be his preferred destination this summer to add a new tournament, but it's really the only one that fits unless he wants to play Wyndham.
I'll put money on him not playing Detroit. I think he backs out. I just don't see it happening.
Wow.
That course is just like, no. I'll make a bet with any of you guys right now. I know he said that. I know that someone said that it's good, but I don't see it happening.
I have no reason to believe that he will be there, so I'm not gonna opt into that bet. Although I will say, Detroit got pretty lucky with the new schedule. Like, I don't think a lot of people want to play Wyndham and then 3 playoff events. Well, especially the top 30 guys in the FedEx Cup don't want to do that. And it's more than a week after the Open. And I already say like ticket prices are up from where they were last year at this time by $30 or $40 at least, which makes me think that Detroit knows that they're going to get some more names this year. But we'll see. I mean, I guess that kind of leads into one of my thoughts about him not being here, and then of course not playing Valspar as well.
I have a hot take as well.
Is that I
when you're done.
think he's trying to just spread out the tournaments, because going into the Masters last year, you could tell he was kind of out of steam, even though he played really well. I think he only had some from Farmers to Augusta. He had 2 weeks off total, I think, or maybe 3 actually. I might be mistaking myself, but like that's 9 tournaments in 12 weeks or whatever, which is a lot. That's a lot of golf. And this year there's a little bit more balance, and it's unfortunate that he misses out on the Florida swing, because I think the Florida swing has some tough golf courses and they're pretty fun tournaments to watch. Especially, playing Farmers over the API is tough, right? Like that's, you get 2 rounds of Torrey Pines versus somewhat good chance of contention at Bay Hill. But I think he'll be better rested going into the Masters, which I think is a plus out of, taking Arnold Palmer and then Valspar off. I also wouldn't be surprised if he adds RBC on the back end of the Masters, but that'll come up at some point. That's further down the line, I think, in his vision.
So I'm thinking we see Mexico back in the equation, possibly. I think that's very possible. He never really had. It's a different course, and as much as I don't want him to play it, I think it's very possible now. I think it's still a very highly renowned event, because I think a lot of people are still going to go. I think this brings it back into the equation. I think there's a good chance. I think there's a 100% chance we see either Mexico, RBC, or Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
One of those is happening.
I think I agree
At
with
least.
that, but this is episode 28, and that might be the most ludicrous statement I've heard out of you, Bob. I think there's no chance he goes back to Mexico. I think the only reason people played that event was WGC. I just don't.
Justin Thomas is going back.
He is.
Yeah,
Well, good for him. I don't think Jordan Spieth's joining him.
You really think that was Bob's most ludicrous take?
I mean,
Like,
besides playing the John Deere and playing like.
Oh, that's happening. That's happening. Hey, you said you wanted to add more summer events. John Deere, here we come.
I will say it's a pretty interesting point for you to say that he'll play one of Mexico, RBC, or Wells Fargo.
I think that's true.
The question is which one. I don't see Mexico.
I think it's RBC.
I think it's RBC as well,
because he likes that course.
Yeah.
I hope it's Wells Fargo just for me, because I can go.
No.
You don't want me to go?
Well,
you don't want me to go?
The problem also with Wells Fargo,
it's not as good a spot.
It would be 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
With Memorial being the 5th week. And I think RBC would be the 4th week, and obviously the week after the Masters is always tough. But then if he doesn't play RBC, there's 4 weeks there, right? RBC, the Louisiana one where you team
Zurich,
Zurich, Mexico, and Wells Fargo. And I don't see him playing 5 weeks in a row. And I don't see, Mexico seems the most unlikely. I do think it's back in the picture. Like, I think it's something he's thinking about in theory. But I think RBC, to me, is at least the one that's the most likely to be added onto the schedule. And then I think Detroit as well seems to make the most sense kind of down the stretch in the summer. But it was pretty surprising to hear not going to API, but I think he's just filling it out kind of in different months of the season. And he still hasn't committed to match play either, although we'd expect that to be coming fairly soon. But
I think we'll get some commitments within the next week.
Yeah,
like
I don't. He is playing match play.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's
kinda have
no
to.
chance he doesn't.
I get what Dan's saying though. It's a little we still haven't got a commitment, so there's a little. I think he's playing it. I don't see a way.
Well, yeah, this
But
API. I feel like before, at least after Genesis, I felt like there's. I know Bob had been beating the he's playing drum, which is he
I
had
mean, I would have
right.
put
you had
thousands on him playing. Like
we
right
all thought
exactly
he was playing. So
right. And but even then I was like, man, no commitment. It makes me think it's he may not show up, but the WGC is like he's gonna show up there, right? That's big time points, big time everything. So, and it's right in his backyard.
yeah, I'm.
yeah,
I know Bob put out a tweet saying that it was possible he wouldn't play match play, but I'm happy to hear it. It's looking like a good lock will play. It's a really fun event to watch from a viewer standpoint, and
Yeah.
it would have sucked if he didn't play it.
No, if he doesn't play match play, I'm done with my fandom.
Yeah. I mean, Rory's not playing match play.
Well, good. Thank God. I want to see him play. I'm kidding.
But he is playing Valero. Actually, Valero field's going to be. I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it, but that field's going to be much better.
Can we talk about my on point first round bet at the Arnold Palmer Invitational? Rory McIlroy to win the first round, but not win the tournament. And just like that, he's choking it away. Just as I said. I knew it would happen. It was just, I mean, obviously the first round leader part is a lot harder to come by than the rest, but
Yeah.
I mean, come on, this is just insanity from me. I mean, it's brilliance.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, go ahead, pat yourself on the back. You definitely, I think you've I don't know, you've definitely taken the lead in the go get that cash points, especially because I'm not getting anything this week.
I picked to win.
Burns, I think.
And who was my top 40? Oh,
It was top 40 on.
Just as you were saying,
Mitchell.
Rory's going to choke. He just missed another par putt.
I think you had Keith Mitchell top 40. I don't know if that's. I think he's like T72, so I don't think that's gonna hit. But
oh no, he shot 43 on the back today. That's devastating. Wow.
Jeez.
Hideki's killing my one of my top 20 bets that included Fitzpatrick, Rory, and Hideki's just letting that one down.
I would have. Wow, Hideki's just a disaster, dude.
Yeah,
oh my God, Cameron Young threw up all over himself.
Really?
That's devastating.
I actually wanted to share a stat that I posted on my story about Jordan. 11 rounds covered by ShotLink from Farmers to Genesis. Our strokes gained off the tee. In 11 rounds, he gained 1.74. In the approach game, he gained 7.71. Around the green, he lost exactly one shot in rounds. And then putting, he lost 2.99 shots to the field in 11 rounds. What does that tell you?
That's pretty gross, actually.
That putting stat is scary.
Yeah. 3 shots in 11 rounds. That's tough. I mean, I feel like he's always been more streaky of a putter than we sometimes think. Like, I think he averages out pretty high because his highs are super high in terms of putting. But I think his floor can be losing half a stroke around. Like, I think that can be kind of he seems, at least so far this year, he's been consistently kind of hitting that number. And at Genesis, we saw signs of making some putts, at least through 28 holes, maybe. But I will say, I do wonder if some of the inconsistent play could have also been a reason to not show up at Arnold Palmer. Just if he doesn't feel like he feels good about it, but not, he just knows that there needs to be some time to really put in some work on the range on stuff. Whereas I feel like last year he played a lot because everything was going really well. Like his worst finish was a T15 at Genesis for a while. He struck the ball really well at the Players, but couldn't putt or chip, and that was his problem. And then he went T9 at Match Play, dub at Valero, T3 at Augusta. So there wasn't really a reason to take more than a week off because it's, well, let me just get back out there and get points and keep playing good golf. So I wonder if sort of the inconsistency, maybe the play not up to his standards is part of the reason that he didn't show up at API.
No, as they say, you can't fake it around that place. And inconsistency at Bay Hill, especially the Bay Hill that we are seeing this week, is not something that's fun. And it's I know you mentioned it last year. He was playing so much and he kind of burnt out at the Masters. This week in particular is mentally tough because, I mean, there's not a whole lot of birdies. There's going to be a lot of bogeys. There's a lot of stress around this golf course, and it definitely weighs on you mentally. And I think skipping this week, if there is one benefit in it, it's his mind will be fresh, especially going into next week, where it's a place where he has played horribly at historically, except for 1 year. And to go in fresh, not coming off a week at Bay Hill, it's going to be stressful. I mean, it could do him well. It'll be interesting to see next Sunday. Maybe we'll come back to this conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, I know you're higher on him at the Players maybe than say Bob is or most Spieth fans. I think he's got a chance. He seems to drive it there. Like he seems to like the sight lines off the tee. But we'll see. I mean, we'll get into that more in the Players preview.
Yeah, I had some questions. I put a Q&A out. I got 5, so I'll read them all to you guys, and you guys can give your thoughts before I give my thoughts on them. And the first one I got was, what do you think he needed to work on before the Masters?
Everything. His game's not in a spot where he's going to win the Masters right now. I mean, am I wrong?
No.
Like, he's got to work on everything.
Yeah. No,
As
I
easy
think
as that is to say.
Yeah, if we want to go more specifically, that's tough because there's just kind of like he's just kind of patching rounds together in a way. I would like to see some better putting, that's for sure. I think we can all agree on that. But I think, last year when he hit the ball really, like he was driving it phenomenally last year, like really, really good. And I know he was hitting his irons pretty well, and I know Augusta's pretty wide and you can get away with some bad tee balls there, but it also rewards you for hitting really good tee shots. So I think if he can, kind of find a rhythm off the tee where he's striping things the way he was at the Open and then towards kind of in the fall swing as well, I think that'll give him a much better shot to really contend at Augusta this year.
Yeah, I said everything as well. I'd say the only part of his game that's probably good enough at the moment is the driver, because I mean, you can be a little loose there, and I think it's good enough at right now. But everything else needs work. I mean, it's as you said, you can hit some loose tee shots, but if it's firm, if it's like last year, you got to be in the fairway more often than not, or you're just not going to get close to pins. So that's my take on it. And then my second question I got, actually funny, we talked about it earlier in this podcast. Will you punch Bob if he skips match play?
That's so like, that makes no sense. Who said that?
I don't remember. I didn't write it down. But no, I will not punch Bob. And I think it's a close to a guarantee he plays it. So there will not be any punching.
I'll punch myself if he doesn't play match play.
Punch Bob. Why Bob too? Like just
I don't know. I'll have to go. I wonder
maybe
if
I have the most punchable face.
I gotta see if I can figure out who sent me that one.
Yeah. Probably Ryan Schlegel.
Yes. I concur.
There will not be any punching, or
no, I agree that I think it was Ryan.
Oh.
Ooh.
Fair.
Look at
This
the
was
layout.
this was actually pretty interesting. I actually thought about this one for a few minutes. Do you think he is in possible danger of not making the tour championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got to play well first. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say I expect it, but like to say he's a lock for it is by no means true.
Yeah.
We've
Ditto.
seen, like, I mean, obviously, he's not a lock for the tour championship until he gets at least a few more top fives, not a win.
Yeah.
Does a win guarantee you win the tour championship? No. Right?
No,
Near-
but where he is now, I think a win would
Win gets a win. Yeah.
get him in, especially if he plays like somewhat decently during
That's fair. That's fair.
the 2 playoff events. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think anybody's a lock,
Fair.
but there's certainly other
Mm.
players that are more on the, like Bryson's like 190 something, DJ's 180 something, Phil is Phil is probably not, doesn't care anymore really, I guess, but like Bryson and DJ are way back. And I know Bryson's gonna, best case was Masters is what we've heard, right? So
He's in
that'll
the
be
field
something-
next week. We'll see if he plays, but he is in the field, Bryson.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And he can always go pick off Rocket Mortgage, I guess. So
True.
I'm sure he'll be fine. He'll make the playoffs for sure. But
It was a good question. I thought, despite how painful Pebble was, in this
Don't even-
question,
Don't even remind
I
me.
mean, the second at Pebble is gonna. I mean, he's 32nd solely pretty much because of that performance
mean,
at Pebble.
Pebble
so-
is his entire season so far. So
Yeah, so he's 32nd basically solely on a painful week. So as much as it hurts, it's going to be a large part of the reason he gets to the tour
Absolutely.
championship if he does. And the last question I got was, do you think Jordan should either change up the putter or change the grip?
might as well try. I don't know.
no, you can't.
I'll say this. There's virtually no way that he goes the rest of his career with that putter. Like there's no way. He's got to change it sometime, right?
You would think.
You would
So
think.
like why not just give it a whirl? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did it 1 week, I think. Like he
No.
had like the I don't know my putter head.
that would have
name.
been like a breaking story.
No, I'm pretty sure he changed it for a
The
week.
putter, he did.
When?
It was
was
a
like
few years ago.
18, I think, when he missed everything that year.
I do remember
He
that
had-
year.
He had like a Justin Thomas type putter, and it was bizarre.
Ew.
We gotta do some research on
Ew,
it.
Wow, that's gross.
I think he changes? No, because the other thing I will say is, like, I know Bob touched on this a little bit in our Genesis recap, was like he rolled it better at Genesis. And 2 weeks off, more practice, more kind of working on it, getting the putting lab or whatever, get some technology on that thing and see where it's at. So I'm sure, you can't bail on it quite yet. And changing a grip's actually like a big deal. I think like that's,
Well,
I
here's
think
the thing.
I think just getting a fresh grip, I assume, is what they were asking.
Well, here's
Oh.
the thing. He's not. There's also a sponsor thing to this. Like he's not going to.
Yeah, he's super strict. Yeah.
He's not gonna. No, I mean more for the putter. He's not gonna just like pick up a spider tomorrow.
yeah.
Like
No, but
he's gonna
Scotty could cook him something up. I'm sure, if
Absolutely,
he needed
but-
it.
Scotty could
Absolutely.
cook me something if he wanted. I wouldn't mind that, Scotty. You're not
Yeah.
listening, but that's okay.
As Victor Hovland has actually just fallen out of first place. I just noticed that.
I'm so sad.
Is it Gooch?
This is ridiculous. No, it is Gooch until he bogeys 18, which he's going to in a second.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
and Horschel just birdied 18, which
Wait a-
just makes me want to die.
So now everybody's at 7.
Horschel is just like, come on. I hate that guy, dude.
Leaders are at 7 under.
Gooch leads alone at 8. And what I was
Okay.
about to say about the putter is
Oh my god. He literally holed out.
the grip.
Horschel literally holed out.
Changing of the grip doesn't. I don't think it does a whole ton, but I'd love for the media to ask him when he changed his putter previously why he did it then, and where he would have to get to now to do that. Like it makes me
Yeah.
wonder.
That's kind of a deeper, like you have to take a really deep dive on Jordan Spieth to figure out, like to know that maybe the putter hasn't been his best weapon this year. If that makes any sense. Like you have to watch every single shot to
We
I
do.
think feel that, like, because a lot of dudes have early season kind of, they're not putting it great and they just look at the strokes gained and it's like 1/10 and it's like, that's not great for him especially, but doesn't bar necessarily a putter change, putter grip change, whatever. So I think the putter will come.
Yeah.
If it shows up at Players, that would be insane. That would be like,
What the new
just if he makes a lot of putts at TPC Sawgrass,
Oh, that would be funny.
that's just like, it never happened ever before.
He's bound to wake up somewhere. I mean,
Well, right. Hopefully it's Augusta. But
yeah, that's the main hope. But I mean, I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll get into it in our players preview. But I mean, this next week coming up, we give it a lot of crap, but it is a big week. It's the biggest OWGR week besides the 4 majors. It's a big week. It would be a good week for him to bust out of the putter slump and be in contention on Sunday. But time will tell with that.
I mean, it's a tournament Shoffley wants to win the most. That's how you know it's a big deal.
True.
If Xander wants to win that the most, guy who hasn't won on tour in 3.5 years wants to win that. Special week upcoming.
Yeah, it's a big week. Do you have anything, Bob? I see you giggling over there.
I mean, it's not a great week. It's a pretty poor tournament. I'd much rather watch Memorial Bay Hill or Genesis, but
I don't
here we are.
disagree.
But we'll get into that in our players preview, so I'll leave that for that.
Yeah. Little schedule chat that we wanted to get out to you guys. That was important because I mean, skipping API, it's only one event, but it has a trickle down effect on the rest of his schedule probably. And I was getting a ton of questions about it in my DMs on Instagram because it seemed like a sure bet a couple months ago he was going to play it, and I know Bob's followers thought the same thing, and we ourselves thought it was definitely happening, and it didn't. So it's interesting to look at what the rest of the season may hold, but it is on to the players next week.
Up to the players.
Yeah, we'll see you guys back in episode 29 for our preview. Take care.
Yeah.
Peace.